What's going on, YouTube family? Today we're going to be talking about tariffs and how they're affecting the automotive industry. Now, I made a video about this yesterday, but I had to stop and redo it because just a few hours ago, the United States just made a tariff deal or trading deal with China. So they're temporarily going to drop the tariffs, 25% on the US end, 10% on the China end for 90 days while they work out a long-term deal. Now, I have a lot of doubts about this because I know there's going to be some basically back-ended dealing when it comes to IP theft. Now, China is really big on stealing this, and I'm going to say why it's so big, especially in the automotive sector. But a lot of things have changed since then. I know a lot of people were so worried about everything going up and prices and all these other things, so I want to address that first. So just in the last few weeks, me ordering parts from overseas, other vendors and stuff like that, a lot of my friends that manufacture body kits and parts were really afraid because they thought that it would absolutely crush or destroy their businesses. Some of them actually sold some of their companies because they were so afraid that they thought everything was over. They just wanted to cash out and leave. But during this process of me ordering body kits from China, a few places from the UK, Poland, I ordered some stuff from Thailand, other countries like that, I didn't see any type of additional charges, just the typical what I've usually paid. I don't know if it's because there was a temporary pause or a lot of these countries came to basically the plate really quickly and started working some sort of a deal. But the last few weeks, I haven't really noticed that much of a difference. Now, when it comes to car sales, it was a completely different thing because it really wasn't the prices of stuff that was going up. It was the dealerships and a lot of these people really trying to push the fear into saying, hey, you got to buy this. This is a pre-tariff sale. And I'm sure you guys have seen this in your local areas where dealers actually marked up and put, hey, if you buy this Subaru, it's $33,000 today. But if you buy it after this date, it could be $39,000. So you could be paying $6,000 more for the exact same car. Now, I think a lot of that FOMO pushing was absolutely BS, the whole fear of missing out and you better buy now. I think people have learned since the pandemic not to really trust it. I think people are actually waiting for good deals. So I don't think that swayed very many people because a lot of my dealer friends said they didn't get really anything off the whole tariff thing. You know, the demand for used cars and new cars are simply not there. So I think people are just going to wait to get a good deal no matter how much you try to scare them into paying overpricing. But when it comes to car pricing, I haven't seen any of it. Now, when it comes to manufacturing, I thought that's where the big pricing discrepancy would happen because, you know, everyone was like, oh yeah, you know, let's tax more on Japanese cars, European cars, and whatever else that comes to the United States. But people don't realize that majority of the American cars that are built here are really not even built here. Our parts come from China. Engine assemblies, a lot of them are from Mexico and Canada. Even some of the assembly of the full vehicle is done in Canada and Mexico. Just a very small, minute point. I'll put a Windows sticker up here. It'll literally tell you how much on a percentage-wise of what car is built in what type of area or what type of country. So, you know, even with an American-built car, those prices are going to go up as well. So even though if America's trying to be competitive with its neighbors saying, oh, we can get you a Malibu cheaper than a Honda Accord, at the end of the day, the tariffs were going to raise the prices on everything because unfortunately, everybody still buys their parts from China or other countries. We all share this type of thing. We're a global, basically, parts bin, and that's just the way it is. I think one of the good things that happened, that they struck a quick deal with the actual UK and the EU. Now, the reason why I think this was so critical is the fact that both countries really lost a lot of their manufacturing power because they were subbing everything out to China. They were allowing Chinese manufacturers to purchase steel mills here in America and UK and basically shut them down, so we're buying our steel from there. Did you guys know that 75% of the steel that's made for US vehicles all comes from Canada and the rest of it comes from China? That's pretty scary. Like, why are we so codependent on other countries? You know, I remember one of my friends telling me that if they didn't buy as much steel because they're worried about the whole COVID thing, that they would have had to pay much higher tariffs once we started doing negotiating with Canada. But thank God that never happened. Everything's fine now, and the prices are basically staying the same. Now back to the whole UK-EU deal. Now the reason why I think this was so strategic is the fact that, you know, we were able to talk to another partner that let Chinese vehicles into their market. Now I've heard a lot of this from Mexico as well as overseas. People either absolutely love Chinese EVs and Chinese cars or they hate them. They love them because they're affordable, and that's something I wanted to get here for American buyers because, you know, if American companies don't want to make a $12,000 brand new car, I think they should allow other countries to come in and make it. Flat out. You know, now everyone's like raving about the Slate. The slate's only 25 grand because of the tax credit. You take that away, you're still going to pay anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 more. So I don't even count that. But if China can bring in a car that's $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 brand new cash out the door with the warranty, I think it's a good thing. But the EU literally was complaining about how much basically China flooded them with cheap EVs because their EV market is subsidized for the government. So they're able to make cars at basically no profit because the government subsidizes them to basically pump these cars out of there. Now, China is the #1 now manufacturer of EV vehicles in the world. So just let that sink in. They're pumping out that many cars to all these other countries except America. And I think America's really scared when it comes to this deal. Now, when this trade deal goes down, I think this is going to be something that's going to be a sticking point. I think China is going to be like, okay, we're going to lower tariffs and we'll let you sell American items here, but we want Chinese cars in America. Now, I think, like I said, it's a good thing, kind of. If they allow cheap, affordable gas cars, and even some of their smaller electric cars, they have stuff that looks like the size of a smart car. I think it's called like a Panda. It's a little square box that gets like 100-mile range. But if you can bring one of those in here for $5,000 brand new with a 5-year warranty on a battery, why not? I would do that. I'd buy it for $5,000 and just beat the hell out of it after 2 years. Throwing it away, it's still cheaper than buying something at a crazy interest rate that's $40,000, you know? So I think those markets are definitely well served if they were to bring cheap, affordable vehicles. But the catch is I think that negotiations with China is going to fall apart because of the whole back-end deal of what they're going to do with IP theft. Now, I know a lot of you guys probably don't really care about that, but intellectual property is a big thing when it comes to the automotive industry and other technology companies. You know, people like Ford, Chevy, Honda, Toyota, even Tesla will spend years designing, building, engineering, getting something really great. And all China does is buy it, rip it apart, reverse engineer it, and then put it out the exact same way. Now, in multiple countries, you could fight this, but the only country that doesn't allow you to fight this is China. If you try to go after a Chinese company saying they copied your stuff, good luck. They're just going to laugh at you. And so that's what China's been doing is they've been literally stealing IP from all around the world. Whoever makes the best products, China basically gets hired to basically build them. All they do is they steal the stuff and put them right back out. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but I did an eBay store probably about maybe 15 years ago. And I used to send fiberglass parts to China to get replicated so I can sell them here. This was before all the craziness of eBay. And back then you couldn't buy Murcielago bumpers, Diablo bumpers, Ferrari 430 bumpers, 360 bumpers. So I sent a lot of those to China to get manufactured and brought back to me. And so I worked out a really good deal. They promised they wouldn't copy them. After 4 months of me making these bumpers and selling them here, I was selling mine for anywhere between $2,000 to $3,000 because it would cost me about $1,000 to ship here to the United States. But I was still way cheaper than, you know, the Ferrari for an $8,000 bumper or Lamborghini for a $12,000 bumper. But right after that, I started seeing all the Chinese companies advertising on eBay. The exact same parts, the exact same pictures. You know, the pictures they sent me in the factory of the molds were the exact same ones they were showing in those. They would literally copy your idea and steal it from you. If you look at anything on Alibaba, what's the other one? Amazon, a lot of these places, if you come out with something really great, a great idea, they will literally copy it and sell it for 50%. So I think the linchpin for the whole China deal that's going to make the tariff thing fall apart is them basically agreeing not to steal any more intellectual property. I don't think they can even do it because at the end of the day, they are making money from manufacturing, but they've talked about numerous times they want to become a tech hub. They want to become an innovator, but they don't know how to do that. All they do is steal people's technology and basically copy it. And so I think that the trade wars are not even anywhere close to being done. Now, as of right now, like I said, the tariffs, okay, we got to pause for a little bit. But my advice is if you are a manufacturer in China, I would not do business with them anymore. I would kind of pull out. A lot of the manufacturing parts that we're talking to, if you're looking at buying a body kit, wheels, some sort of thing where you have a trusted vendor in China, buy it now because I think this 90-day hold is only temporary. So you need to make sure that whatever you're going to order, get it here now. If you're going to buy a large stockpile of inventory, now is the time because I think that once these negotiations start to go par, I think everybody else is going to play ball because America basically has the biggest wallet. We're a consuming nation. We're a nation of consumers. All we do is want to buy shit. And so everybody wants to basically sell their stuff to us. But at the end of the day, if America can't get what they want from China, I think that's going to be the thing that's going to kind of make the rest of the sweater unravel. Now, we can get automotive parts made in Mexico and Canada basically bumped up, which they're already doing. I know some of the manufacturing companies for the harnesses, some of the engine components have already basically left China and are manufacturing down there in Mexico. So even though it is a Chinese company, it's manufacturing in Mexico, so therefore we don't have the same type of tariffs. It'll be a little bit cheaper, plus we're on the same continent. And we don't have to worry about supply chains ever happening again. I think COVID taught us a very valuable lesson when we couldn't get medication, medical equipment, masks, gloves, everything we basically use in our society is made somewhere else, which is kind of embarrassing. So hopefully America corrects this thing, but I'm very excited of where we're going because I think once we actually have manufacturing back here in the United States, I think it will build to scale and it will get cheaper. It's just like anything else. You always hear these people like, oh, we have to pay American workers so much more, so it'll never be cheaper. If you get enough manufacturing plants, like you got to remember, that's what the Midwest was for. If you drive down any Midwest town, you will see massive manufacturing plants abandoned, emptied, because those were the heartbeat of America. Those were basically employing all the rural people at a decent wage, which would get them good housing out there. You know, they don't have to pay crazy city prices. Everybody thinks that you got to make $30 an hour to survive. But if you're making, $20 in, let's say, rural Kentucky, I'm sure you're balling out of your mind in such a small area. But that's what we need to do. We need to bring manufacturing back so we can build a scale and eventually bring our operating costs down lower. But anyways, I'd love to know your opinions of the actual tariff deals and have you noticed any difference when it comes to pricing. Now, I know my girlfriend likes to order stuff from Shin and one of the other companies, and they actually started charging them extra money to bring stuff in. So she purchased, I think it was like $60 worth of stuff, but it cost her another $72 on top of that to basically get it sent here to the United States, which is still cheap for a bunch of clothes, but it just kind of shocked her that now everything is basically going to be doubling when it comes to that. So let me know if you've noticed any of that or if you've seen any of that. On top of that, what are your opinion of the tariffs? Do you like what's currently going on so far? Would you change anything about it? And like I said, if you guys are really heated about political stuff, let's just leave it be. Just talk about the actual tariffs themselves. And I hope you guys have a great one. We'll see you next video.